ninth grade where I actually had a really traumatic experience happen. And it caused me to really, I actually ended up getting isolated. So I had like my mini version of COVID
Hmm.
back in ninth grade, where I got really, really sick and hospitalized and then isolated. So because I was contagious. And during that period of time, I really sat with and kind of reviewed my life. And I was like, man, I haven't really accomplished anything in my life. I've just spent my whole life playing. I haven't really accomplished anything. And then I was like, well, what would I want to do? And I'll just share this story and I'll try not to cry, but um yeah, see, I feel the tears coming up. But
It's okay.
but in
It's
that
okay.
moment, I was a teenager who was bullied a lot.
Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Third Chances. My today guest is Danielle, and she is on a mission to help women stop waiting for perfect and start living fully now. I think we all can relate to that. As a coach, speaker, and author, she blends mindset, business strategy, and inspiration to help women build purpose driven businesses and courageously pursue the life they truly want. Very, very near to my heart. So I'm excited to welcome Danielle on my podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
I'm excited. Thanks, Cindy, that was kind enough to introduce us. And if I remember correctly, you are in Oregon.
I am. I'm in the Wine Valley of Oregon, it is a very large expanse, but it's beautiful here. We have rolling hills, and today we have gorgeous sunshine. So I can't wait to get out and play today.
Oh, yeah, well, that's close to my heart too, because some of you may know that I used to sell wine for a living, and I absolutely love the wine from Oregon region because they are perfect. But well, me from Florida, and I am excited to have you today because we spoke briefly before, and there's a lot that I would like to learn about you. And obviously, in your bio, you didn't say much about yourself. So we know what you do for work. But I would love to see who you are as a person behind all that and what brought you to this. And if you don't mind, I would like to start much earlier than that. Like sometimes the best picture into someone's soul is what what were you as a child? What did you want to do? What did you want to be when you grow up?
For the longest time, I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. And I actually just had recently a flashback to a memory in childhood. A lot of my childhood, just a little FYI, I had forgotten a lot of it.
Hmm.
And then as I've been doing a lot of this kind of internal work, I've been remembering and having flashbacks of
Hmm.
memories. So my most recent memory was I remembered what I enjoyed so much and came so naturally to me. And it ties into what I'm doing now in a greater way. And that was, I love to play. And that's not a surprise for most kids, right? But
Hmm.
I was the kid that my siblings are all much older. Weren't living with me. And so I was the kid that everybody would knock on the door and say, Danielle, do you want to come and play? And I'd be like, yes. And it didn't even matter what. It was like,
Hmm.
yes, let's go play. And so everything, climbing trees and tag and playing with Barbies, it didn't really matter. I was the kid who always said yes and enjoyed everything that I was doing for the most part. And so that was my life for the longest time, was outside, usually playing with the kids, like many, running loose in the neighborhood, having a good time. And um, that was what I lived for. I remember specific memories, and I want to share this intentionally. Remember times where I would wake up excited for the day, just couldn't wait to jump out of bed and get started in my day, sort of feeling. And I remember those moments now. I'm like, oh my gosh, there was a time where I was so excited to get out of bed. I couldn't wait to get out of bed and get out of my room, so much so that my parents had to put a lock on my door. Right?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
because I would get into all kinds of things,
Yeah.
even from a really young age. I would get into all kinds of trouble crawling through the cabinets or whatever. But I just had this zest for life, and I just couldn't wait to get out there and go enjoy the day. And so I think that is so important. I want to just bring that up for a moment because I have recognized in myself, and I think a lot of people can relate, I don't wake up with that same amount of
Yes.
enthusiasm,
Yeah,
that
that
excitement.
was exactly going through my mind. How shame we lose this when
Yes.
we grow up. And it's
Yes.
just, it's really, that was exactly what came to my mind when you said that, because I was like, yes, kids actually enjoy joy. They, for the sake of it. It's just like excitement. It's like anything can be fun. And as we grow up, we become so serious and everything is more important. And we have to do this. And just like, I can so relate to this because I realized I had moments in my life that I should have been beside myself. And I was in a stage where I couldn't even like show excitement. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like exactly. Yeah, it's very
Yes.
relatable. And I'm sure many, many people have that. And maybe especially women, because we kind of are programmed to, we have to be there for everybody else first. And we just take all these responsibilities on our shoulders that somewhere we believe are those rules written that we have to be there for everybody else. And it's not, it's really, that's really nice memory from childhood. So you were the youngest from,
I'm not now. I have a sister that's 15 years younger than me. But
okay.
yes, for a long time I was the youngest, and my parents got divorced when I was like around 5 or 6 years old. And so my siblings, my two brothers moved out when I was really quite young.
Mhm.
And I had a sister who lived with me, and she lived there till she was age 16. I was age 8. But she was also a teenager, right, doing her own thing. So it was, in a lot of ways, I had like the kind of the only child syndrome.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think I was so available to play with people. But I was also very lonely. I remember a lot of my childhood feeling very alone as well, not
Mhm.
having my siblings around. Um, but I do remember, like you were saying, there's this moment, and I know we'll get into it, but just in general, where we shift into the belief of I have to be responsible.
Yeah, yeah. There's no
And
time for fun,
there's
right?
no time for
Yep, yep,
fun.
yep.
I gotta focus. I gotta make the money. I gotta get the house, and I gotta, raise a family. Once you have a family, I gotta take care of the family. So
Yeah,
that sense of responsibility, I think, is a heavy weight we bring on our shoulders at a pretty young age for many of us,
yeah.
especially women, because we are the kind of the caretakers. And so I do remember, like, there was a shift where it was like, I feel like it was middle school, high school, where I shifted. It was really, I remember ninth grade. I've got to be responsible. I've got to take life more seriously. There's no time for play anymore. My friends aren't even available for play anymore. They're all off doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And so there was this huge shift into I've got to be responsible. I got to start taking school seriously. I've got to start focusing on my career. I've got to figure out what I need to do next, sort of thing.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over that because that was my question. How, what, I remember how definite it felt when we have been asked in a grammar school, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it felt like whatever I say, that means I have to do for the rest of my life. It felt like it to me. I don't know if you have same experience, but so if you were asked then in a like really young age, what was the first thing that would come to mind that you would like to engage with?
I don't even remember at a young age. I don't really remember anything about people asking me what I wanted to do or anything in specific that came up for me. So it wasn't until ninth grade where I actually had a really traumatic experience happen. And it caused me I actually ended up getting isolated. So I had like my mini version of COVID,
Hmm.
back in ninth grade, where I got really, really sick and hospitalized and then isolated. So because I was contagious. And during that period of time, I really sat with and kind of reviewed my life. And I was like, man, I haven't really accomplished anything in my life. I've just spent my whole life playing. I haven't really accomplished anything. And then I was like, well, what would I want to do? And I'll just share this story, and I'll try not to cry, but um yeah, see, I feel the tears coming up. But
It's okay.
but in that moment, I was a teenager who was bullied a lot. And
Mhm.
so this particular year, I was bullied by a bunch of girls, and really hard year,
Mm.
hard experience, right? But it was that moment. I know it was because I was being bullied that I got really, really sick.
Mhm.
And I was hospitalized. And after I got out of the hospital, the doctor said, well, your daughter, I had mononucleosis. She says her body's totally fatigued. It's totally exhausted. She's really prone to infections right now. She needs to
Mm.
lay low for the summer. And it
Wow.
was almost summer break. And she's contagious still. She'll be contagious for a while. So she really can't see anyone. So I had to cancel all my summer plans. Usually I would go see my father, who lived in Texas, go see him for the summer.
Mm.
Couldn't do that. Couldn't see my friends, couldn't hang out with them. My parents worked both full time, so I didn't really see them. My siblings, they're out of the picture. So it's just really me. And
Wow.
even my best friend, she's not allowed to hang out with me. So it's
It's hard
me at
at that
home,
age. Yeah, that's hard. Hmm.
middle school, right? Eighth grade, by myself, sitting in the house alone for 3 months.
Wow.
3 months. So the stories the mind starts to create. Nobody likes you. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to see you. Nobody's stopping by to say hi.
Oh my
Nobody's
gosh. Yeah.
right.
Mm.
Like, there must be something wrong with you. Nobody wants to be with you. And that obviously wasn't the case. They weren't allowed to see me, but that was the story my mind created. Nobody likes you.
Unfortunately, we have brilliant abilities to create stories that has
Ugh,
nothing to do with reality. And
ugh,
yeah,
right.
oh gosh, yeah.
So my mind started to craft this story of unworthiness, right?
Mhm.
Unlovability. And so I'm sitting there in that space. And I was just like, well, I don't matter. I don't matter. Nobody would care if
Oh
I
boy.
didn't exist.
Oh my
Nobody
God.
would care. And so it was in that moment where I thought, well, I should just go. I should just take my own life. So I sat there thinking about, how was I going to take my own life? And I had the knife in my hand. And I'm
Jeez.
thinking, how do I do that? What's the best way to take my own life and not prolong it out or anything? In the middle of our above my stairwell, for some reason, just sitting there in the middle. And I'm thinking, the thoughts were, I don't matter. I should go. Nobody's going to miss me if I go. Maybe if I take my life, maybe people will feel like sad that they didn't connect with me. I
No.
should matter. And then something happened in that moment. Something shifted. It was a new thought, unlike any of the other thoughts that came in. And at the time, it seemed so insignificant and so small, but it was a tiny voice, a tiny thought. And it said, if you could matter, what would that look like?
Hmm.
And it was enough to just interrupt the downward spiral of thoughts. And I started to think about, if I could matter, what would that look like? And an image popped into my head. And the image was me as a businesswoman. And I had a business suit on and high heels, much like my mom, and a briefcase, back in the day.
Yeah.
And I see this version of me, this future version of me, businesswoman, successful. I was like, well, I want to be that, whatever that is. And then the question is, well, then the new thought, well, what would you be doing? And I was like, oh, I want to be a successful businesswoman. And I kind of pictured like the skyscraper, like the corporate office, right? I feel like it was like a 9 to 5 image, the women in 9 to 5 movie, and me successful in that corporate life. And then I was like, well, what industry would I love? And I thought advertising. I would love to go into advertising. It sounds so exciting, advertising, right? So I was like, okay. And then the next thought, well, what would you need to do in order to get into advertising? Well, I would probably need to get a business degree, right? Something to do with advertising. Well, what would you need to do to get a business degree? Well, I would need to get good grades so I can get into college. And so all of a sudden that unraveled into, I'm about to go into high school. For me, ninth grade was high school. And I was like, I could talk to the counselor and I could say, I want to go into advertising. And what do I need to do to get into college to get this degree to go into advertising? So all of a sudden I could see what I needed to do next. So that was what I did. I met with the counselor. I'm like, I want to go to college. I want to get a business degree. How do I do that? And they said, here's the roadmap.
Wow.
Here's the classes you need to take. You need to sign up for electives, you need to do extracurricular. Like they basically laid it all out for me. Here's what you need to do in order to get into college and get a business degree. And so I buckled down and I put my nose to the grindstone. And I wasn't a good student before. I was not focused on studies. I wasn't ever tutored or taught how to be a good student. I got good grades just by floating through, like not really great grades, but floated through. But now I actually had to like get serious. And that, when we talk about responsibility, that was like the shifting point where it's like, I got to knuckle down. I got to get serious about this. I got to be responsible. I need to focus. I need to get the good grades so I could get the good job. Right. And everything shifted from that moment and took me in a whole new direction. And the reason why I want to share that story is it was that vision, that snapshot, that future version of myself. It was just me in a business suit with the briefcase and high heels. That vision was enough to keep me focused all through high school. I did get into the college. I applied to one college I wanted to get into, which was the University of Portland. That's what brought me to Oregon. For some reason, I was like, that's the one. That's the school, because I wanted one that was focused. It wasn't too big and it was focused on studies, not partying. Right. And so I was like, that's the school. And I applied to it and I got in, and I worked hard at it. I'm not a natural like student. I'm not a straight A student, but I enjoyed it and I stayed focused and I pushed through and I got my business degree and all of that. And that means that vision stayed alive in me for easily over 7 years, just through high school and college. And then beyond, as I started to like put my nose to the grindstone, get a job in a corporate setting and really begin to focus on that vision kept driving me through to push through all the discomfort, if you will, of starting a new career and pushing through all the challenges of that. And I did climb the corporate ladder and I did all that thing. So I wasn't in advertising, but I got to live out that dream.
Can I ask you a little bit about, because I didn't want to interrupt you, but when you were talking about that childhood and you touched on parents were divorced, and so I'm assuming your mom remarried and you were in a new family with her.
Yes.
Did you have full support from the excitement part to the really, really lonely part and being kind of almost depressed? What could you talk to anybody? Did you have support, or did you really couldn't talk to them?
Nope, that was me processing all of that alone. My parents were very workaholic. Good people, worked hard, made good money, supported me financially, very blessed in having a beautiful place, home that I lived in and stable. But my parents were not very in tune with me, not very in tune with what was going on with me, not very aware. They just knew I was a cranky teenager, right? They didn't know why.
Yeah.
They didn't know I was being bullied. They were completely oblivious to all of that. And often I found if I ever brought up something, it usually came across as a little complaint. They would almost like make fun of me or ridicule me.
Yeah.
So anytime I tried to bring something up, it just kind of got blasted back in my face. So by the time I became a teenager, I was like, this is not something I could talk to my parents about. They're not going to empathize. They're not going to be compassionate. That's not who they are. More than likely, they're just going to say like make fun of me or ridicule in some way and make it about me and my fault. So I just kept it all myself. And I just went through that whole thing more or less alone.
It is, when you look at it, it's on one hand, it's terrible. And it's kind of warning to parents that, sometimes when you don't have really good communication with your kid, it can get to the point that that kid doesn't feel safe to come and talk to them about what is very serious, because you were this close to end your life possibly. And that's, I'm assuming that's before the age of social media, when it's really now like amplified million for kids that are not ready for that rejection and ridicule and everything, that addiction kind of the. But I'm not expert on kids. I just every time when you say things, images starts running through my head as well, how it relates to, and how, there is a reason why people share these stories, however painful, because if it can open eyes to somebody else, that may raise like warning flag for someone, I better make an effort, to find out what is really going on, because it's just, yeah, it really touched me, and I didn't want to just skip over that, because the paradox of you being super excited kid running out of the bed with joy and everything, and boom, and this happens, it's it's unimaginable to, somebody from the outside. But I'm sure it didn't happen overnight. It just, there was a thing that you mentioned that was happening in school, and despite that, you were loved and have friends, and you wanted to play and all that stuff. So it may seem contradictory when you listen to it, but I'm trying to kind of relate myself to you. Obviously we were brought up in very different circumstances, but it's interesting how, you have a very good gift to picture the picture, to paint the picture, so one can relate to it. And I just didn't want to skip over it. Yeah, it's incredible. So corporate, huh? So that was the image, that was the dream. And so where did you end up, or what did you end up do?
Yeah, so I ended up getting my first job out of college that I could. I was unemployed for a little while. I actually worked all the way through high school and college. I loved working, and I loved having my own income and the freedom of that.
Yeah.
And simple, jobs you don't make very much. But then I was like, okay, now I got to get a serious job. I've graduated from college. I've got to get a serious job, pays more. And I struggled to find a job, and certainly in advertising. And part of it was I wasn't realizing I have to start out in entry level advertising. You can't just start up the ranks. You have to work your way up like anything, right? So naive, not having a coach really to guide me. The one or two opportunities that I had, and I would really say only one, I just really didn't understand, like, you just need to start from the ground up. So I was unemployed for a little bit, and then my sister-in-law actually said, I have a friend who's hiring for a company. It was Progressive Insurance. And so she said, you should go and interview. So I interviewed, and I ended up getting a job, and I needed the money. I had my own apartment now, so I needed money. And so I took the job, and it was actually working in customer service in the call center industry. And I ended up doing really well, as far as I caught on really fast with the processes, the procedures, the technology. Technology wise, I pick up on things really fast. And so I didn't realize at the time, but I was a lot more advanced skill set wise than a lot of the other people. So anytime a job opened up, I tended to get the job. And so I became a department assistant within 6 months. And then within a couple years, a training job opened up, which I was super excited about, being the call center's first trainer, which meant I get to design the training program from the ground up and train all new hires. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a blast. And then I was put in charge of quality assurance, which is the team that listens to your calls for quality purposes. And I loved that. And so I ended up just working my way up the ladder, as that job closed down, they closed that call center down, went to another one, and just worked my way up the ladder over the years until I became a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And management is challenge to be a manager of department. I had multiple departments at a time, is very challenging because there's very much the people skills and how to manage a team, as well as the processes, the procedures, the overall vision of what it is you're trying to create in harmony with the company's vision, right? So all of that, it was very challenging, but it did stretch me. I did grow tremendously. People say, why do you have such good boundaries? I'm like, go and live in corporate for 18 years. You will have to get good boundaries to be able to survive in that environment. Because I am a stickler for how many hours I will work, or what I will work, or what I will tolerate and what I won't tolerate in behaviors of people. And a lot of that was gained by being in the corporate environment. And so I did that corporate track for about 18 years before I realized I'm at the end of the track, essentially.
How did you realize that?
Yeah, I had become super tired, just exhausted a lot of the time. So I would have enough energy to get myself to go into the office, a lot of times with caffeine as my friend to help me through that. Um, and I had chronic stomach ulcer, which I knew the caffeine was not helping with that. And heartburn and all the associated stuff with that, and chronic back pain associated with that. But the kind of the tipping point was that I was feeling just completely drained some days. So I would come home and have no energy. Like I would plop on the couch, and I knew I needed to help with, my husband with dinner and dishes, and our daughter, who was about, 4 or 5 at the time.
Oh, wow.
I just didn't have a lot of the physical energy or stamina to be able to help out as much as I wanted.
And you were relatively young, right?
Yeah. I was so late 30s,
Wow.
at this point, but just really exhausted. I know now that I was probably had a pretty severe adrenal fatigue. Never got tested for it, but knowing what I know now, I know that I was experiencing a lot of adrenal fatigue just from the high pressure of
The
that corporate life
stress,
and
yeah.
stress and deadlines and all of that. But in addition to that, it's the pressure, I was putting on myself to just be at my best all the time and go and push. And I remember one of the days, so this had been going on for a few years, just getting worse and worse and worse. And I remember one of the days I was up in my bonus room, and I was like, oh, it was a beautiful sunny Saturday morning. I was like, I want to go out and play,
Yeah.
right? Because that's a big part of my energy, but very little, but I was lucky if I could squeeze that in. And
Mm-hmm.
my mentality at that time was, well, I got to get all these chores done first. I got to get the laundry done and the vacuuming and all those chores. And I was like, oh, I got to get all those chores done. And I just was like, I can't. I'm too tired. I'm too exhausted. All I have energy to do is sit here on this couch and watch TV. And so I've got the remote in my hand and I'm flipping through the channels, just totally just feeling wiped. And it dawns on me like, girl, this is not going to get any better. Like you've been battling this for a few years now and it's getting
Yeah.
worse. It's not going to get any better.
And it's like, as I'm listening to it, it must have been toll on your daughter as well. The mom wasn't there for her,
Well,
like fully because you were kind of exhausted.
yeah, I think it was more I felt like I couldn't be there for her, right? Seeing what had happened to me as a child, I wanted to be there for her. But physically and even physically, not just emotion, like exhausted physically, but work was so demanding that so often there would be times where she would say like, Mom, can you go to, this special event at school, like a Mother's Day party that they're holding for moms? And I would look
Mm.
at my calendar and there would always be like these really important meetings I had to go to. And
Oh
I'd be like,
boy.
I'm sorry, I can't go. I've got this going on. Some people are visiting for corporate or whatever. There's always some reason
Mm.
I couldn't go. And that continued to be this thing where I really wanted to go to those events, or I wanted to take her to ballet at 3:30 p.m. after school, but I just couldn't, my
Yeah.
schedule wouldn't allow. And that was a tipping point as well that you bring up, because I was like, I am starting to sound just like my mom.
You don't have time to see your daughter grow.
I'm sorry, I can't. I'm too busy. I can't
Yeah.
do that with you. I can't. That was, Mom would always say that to me, like, Mom, can we go to the mall? No, I'm sorry. I'm too busy. I can't. It was
Yeah.
always, she couldn't. She was too busy. And she was a
Yeah.
lovely person. And looking back, she too loved to play. Like that's where she would come to life, but she had to be that responsible mom. She had to work hard, push through that glass ceiling. She
Yeah.
was doing night school and weekend school in
Oh, that's
addition to
crazy.
working full time,
Mm.
right? So she had created this life where everything was about work.
I think this
Everything
is
was
this is
pushing.
very relatable to women too, because we created this vicious cycle that you are at work feeling guilty that you are not home being mom, and then you are at home feeling guilty that you are not fully present for your work, and it's just never ending craziness. And that guilt creates health problems in the body. It's not just how we feel about it, but it's the stress brings burden on our health and body for years to come. So I can totally understand this. This is, yeah, that's the famous lately very much used term of burned out. It's not only just one reason. It's always multiple reasons for that. That's why I was interested to hear this, because you have a small child at home, uh, probably very understanding husband that was trying to be there and help, but it's a burden on the relationship as well, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. And that was one of my biggest motivators too. I don't want to be that mom that
Yeah.
I had. I want to be present for my daughter. That was really important to me. And I was seeing that I was living out of alignment with that desire to be present. That every time I said no, it was one more, it just like a stab in the heart. I am becoming that mom that is always putting work ahead of my daughter.
While life is going by. Yeah.
Yeah. And these are becoming her most precious moments, right?
Yeah.
Kindergarten. Oh, such a beautiful time. First grade, where you actually get invited to come and be a part of their experience and go on field trips.
Hmm.
Precious, precious time. And I was seeing it slip away through my fingers.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want that. That's not the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
And so I saw that I was feeling physically tired, and in my job, I was not enjoying my job anymore. It was stressful. It was exhausting. I was actually getting like PTSD from every time the phone rang, or I would have to watch my email because something terrible happened at the office that I have to address.
Yeah.
And I would go on vacation, and for the last 2 or 3 days of my vacation, I'd be like, "Oh God, I got to get ready mentally to go back to the office." And Sundays were like, "Oh God, I got to go back to work on Monday,"
Hmm.
sort of days,
Yeah.
right? So I was always dreading going back into the office by
So,
that
but
point.
what do? You have an income that is, I'm sure, was at that time pretty comfortable, and
Yes.
you have to make decision, and you don't know where to go from there, because that was your dream originally. So, like, how do like you have to kind of reinvent what it is you actually want from life, and uh, going back to your vision when you were young, that vision didn't involve family and kid and how your life would change and progress. So it's not a vision for whole life, that's for sure. And that's so I think this is important moment when you have to realize like, okay, this is no longer what I want. This is no longer me. I have to readjust whatever come to my way and how I changed as a woman doing that and utilize it into something else. So what did you do in that moment?
Yeah. Oh, it's such a great point. I love that. Yeah, that vision did not incorporate a husband and family for sure. Um, and of course, you don't realize that because you're now swept away in the momentum of what you've created, and realizing I don't really like what I've created anymore. Like I'm not really enjoying this anymore.
Yeah.
But then the question is, what do I want to do differently? And I remember looking constantly at job ads. Well, would I like this? Would I like that? Like everything I looked at in the job ads was like, it just feels like more of the same pressures and deadlines and blah, right? And accountability, and like it just like is bleh. And all my experience also, because I managed teams, was you had to be in office. There wasn't remote. And I really just wanted to be at home with my daughter and work from home sort of a situation. I just couldn't in the role that I was in. So long story short being, I kept thinking, well, what is it I want to do? And I could not come up with answers. I kind of had a tiny little hint, but I really couldn't come up with answers. So I was really stuck. And that was a big part of why I think I stayed for so long. It was the responsibility and the income and the benefits, all of that holds us there. But it's more than that. It's I didn't have a vision for something bigger to inspire me to move and shift out of the
Yeah.
situation I was in. I didn't
I
have
just
something else
realized,
to lean into.
I just realized where did that dream of advertising go?
Yeah, well, apparently it was like, yeah, advertising, yeah, whatever. I just wanted to
Right?
be the woman in the business suit, right?
Right.
More than anything, and have an exciting career, I think is what that
Yeah.
represented. But I ended up going to this conference out of desperation because I'd never done anything like this before, like this rah rah. We all think of like Tony Robbins motivational speakers. I'd never done anything like that before, but I was desperate. And so this email drops in my inbox, and I don't even remember what it said, but there was a video, and it was a gal from her name's Mary Morrissey, and I'd been kind of watching her emails, but this one resonated. And it really talked about like, what would you really love your life to look like?
Hmm.
What would you really, really love? I was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about what would I love, thought about what I like, what would make sense. I think a lot of times we say what would make sense, but I haven't really thought
Or
about
what I should.
what I should. Yeah.
Right?
What would be the responsible thing to do? Yes, we have all those general questions, but what would I love? I hadn't really thought about that. And then she
Hmm.
invited me to go to this conference, and it was called Dream Builder Live. And so something in me said, I really think I need to go to this. This is my only hope right now, right? Of even a different possibility.
Yeah.
So I went to my husband and I'm like, I know you're going to think this is crazy, but I want to go down to this conference down in LA. It's over the weekend, so I only miss a day of work. But I really feel like I need to go to this. And I'm like, can you watch our daughter for a weekend while I go? And he was like, oh, sure. Yeah, that's no problem. He was great. I was like, I think I was more me being nervous about it, thinking I'm crazy about doing this. But I ended up going down to this conference by myself, not knowing what to expect. And it changed everything as far as that question. What would I love to do with my life? What would I love my health to be like? What would I love my day to day life and experience and schedule to be like? And it put me back in touch. I feel like the joy that was completely lacking from my life, that almost like I call it like that inner child of like, what would I love? Because as a kid, I think that is a natural state. What would I love to do today is a natural state, but we lose that as an adult.
Yeah.
And so to ask that question, what would I love to do? What would I love? I had to sit with that and think about, well, I would love to have more freedom. I would love to play more. I would love to travel more. I would love to, right? And I started to be able to think about what would bring essentially me more joy. That's not the question, but
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially what is the result. And I said, well, what would I love? I would love to be at home with my daughter. I would love to be a more present parent. I would love to be able to take better care of my body and heal what's going on. I would love to be able to eat better food. I would love to be able to exercise, and have the time for that and the energy for that. And then I was like, well, and what would I love to do? That was the big question for work. This is the big question.
Yeah.
And I looked up at the woman on the stage, that motivational speaker, coach, call her whatever you will. And I said, I want to do what she's doing, something like that. And I was big into personal development for years. She was teaching practical application of personal development. How do you actually use it in your life and create change? I want to do that. I want to do that for myself. I want to do that for other people. And so I signed up to be in her program for a year to train. And it's all mind training. How do you work with your mindset to envision that outcome? So she had us create a 3-year vision of what we would love our lives to look like in relationship, health, time and money, freedom, career. And she said, you need to hold that vision steady as you can and say, this is my life now. This is my life now. Like, call it in. This is my life now. And even though your life right now looks nothing like that, start taking the steps you can take. And so in her program, I started to take the steps. And I'll tell you what, I know you've been through it too. That's a tough, at first, your mind's going to push every reason why you shouldn't do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Your mind will be talking you out of everything.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it was. And then it creates the illusion, is what it's called, of like, here's all the reasons why you can't. So work gets busier, right? More responsibility, more things getting thrown at me. Danielle, we need to help with this big transition. Oh, this is really important. I got to stay here and do this thing. But luckily through her program, I learned of that illusion's going to come. And that is exactly what it is an illusion to try to keep you trapped in your own life. And if you can see it that way, if you can see it's an old story that you've created, an old life that you've created for yourself, that you must begin to move beyond and see it for the illusion that it is, that this is my old life and I'm stepping into something new, and continue to take the steps regardless of it looking like you can't change or you have to stay or that you're stuck. Keep taking the steps that you can see anyway.
Yeah.
So really moving through that space, of course, is really, really difficult. And there were plenty of times where I was like feeling like I have no idea how I'm going to do this. And that dream that I had seemed absolutely impossible. 3 years and not a coach, like nothing like what I was doing as a manager. It just seemed so far-fetched and crazy to me at the time. But me taking the baby steps and moving through and taking the steps I could see, I was able to begin to start to transition out. And I ended up certifying in her program as one of her coaches, because that was the next step I could see. That I could certify as one of her coaches. I could begin to step into that space and do that for a while.
You touch on something very important here, because there is two sides of this. Being able to hold that vision when you are nowhere near to imagine that it could be even possible. But on the other hand, being able to take little steps that moves you closer, so you don't get stuck on this is impossible. It's like breaking it down to, okay, what can I do today to move a little closer to this? And being there with your mind first before your body moves, or whatever circumstances needs to be moved in order to make it happen. But this is fabulous, because a lot of people talk about the secret and the manifestations and everything. And I met a lot of people who believe like I'm manifesting everything and nothing is happening. And I'm like, it's not wishful thinking or daydreaming, or it's not being that. It's you have to become that person that attracts that. So it's not like you wish you have a big bank account, but at the same time, oh my God, like I have I have all these bills and what am I going to do? And you immediately switch and you are out of it. And anybody who had financial difficulties can relate to that. It's nearly impossible for you to hold that vision that you are somewhere else with your finances when you're not, because obviously that's super stressful situation. And somebody smart once told me that money is like oxygen. We don't give it second thought if we have enough of it, but it's the only thing we can think of when we don't have it. And it's very similar to what you just say. The difficult, it seems like, well, it's not so difficult, like I can dream whatever, but to hold that vision, you know, despite everything else that's going on in your life right now, to keep holding that vision, it's the toughest part. And it requires that inner work that people don't realize it's part of this.
It is the toughest part. And, you know, it's something I think once you're aware of it, you grapple, like I grapple with it today. I just read a beautiful, it's in a book called Jesus Calling. It's just this little brown book, but I remember the very last line of something I read yesterday. It said, live by faith, not by sight.
Right.
Because we look at our circumstances, you know, the job, and we say, or our bank account, we say, it's not possible. I'm looking at my bank account. It's not possible. I'm looking at my job. I'm looking at my schedule. It's not possible. We use
Again, you're
that to
talking
determine it.
yourself out of it. Yep.
You use it to talk yourself out of it. And so live by faith, not by sight, means you take the steps anyway.
Yeah.
You have to take the steps anyway. I mean, when I invested in that program, I was like, I have no idea where, you know, how this is all going to work out. This is a huge chunk of change that I'm investing in myself. It's the first time I invested in myself that way. So every fear factor that could come up was coming up. Every voice trying to talk me out of it was trying to talk me out of it. But inside of me, something said, no, you have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do something to change your circumstances. And this woman's willing to help you change your circumstances and teach you to learn how to override your own fear factors.
What do you think moved you the most in that moment that you trusted Mary? Because I know her work. I follow her as well, but there's many different motivational speakers and coaches that are doing things a little differently. What do you
Yeah.
think draw you to her?
I mean, she's so dynamic, but she also comes across as very authentic and real, but also lived experience. She's speaking from her own lived experience. The stories she brings in are her own stories, or her kids come in and they share their stories of how they've had to grapple with some of these greater challenges of stepping into that bigger vision. And so you're getting it from lots of different angles. This is my experience of what it was like. This is my experience, and this is my experience. So you can get a sense of, oh, these are the challenges I'm going to be dealing with on a regular basis. So I need to get good at dealing with these challenges, recognizing them for what they are, and learning to step through them. I think that's, you know, she does such a great job of illustrating that over and over and over again during that conference. So you can really get a sense of, this is what's going to take for me to outgrow essentially this old life and this old identity. It's a push to that next level of you, that new version of you that you need to become in order to bring in that new life that you want to attract, as they say.
There is another angle to this when somebody say, but I'm comfortable. And you know that they are not happy, they are not fully fulfilled, they are missing something in their life. But the fear of the unknown is bigger than the comfortable, not happy, but it's okay. I'm settling to this, it's fine. What do you think about that? Because I have met some people that it's just that I started to be allergic for that word, because I was like, comfortable never means a good thing. Comfort food, I'm nutritionist, it's the worst food that you can imagine. that people call comfort food. Not to me, not in my book, but comfortable in life means you don't have a need to learn new things. You don't have a need to grow. You don't, you're comfortable. And when you relate it to nature, everything in nature either grows or dies. There's no stillness. There's no such a thing as comfortable grass. No, it's either growing or it's dying or needs to be cut. And I think this is very confusing word for people to use because it kind of settles them in that comfortable stage when if I'm comfortable, I don't need to make any effort. And but then at the end of the life, I will be blaming what I could have if I only had more courage to take that step or something. Is this something that you deal with people when you right now we kind of transfer to your business, but we were talking through your own transmission. So I don't know if you meant that thought in your head as well.
Yeah, there's definitely the discomfort of growth that people resist, because discomfort of growth means you essentially have to face your fears. Or as my mentor said, embrace your fears. They get to come along with you on the journey as your partner, right? Of just seeing where you're hitting your thresholds. As Neil Donald Walsh always said, like, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. It's when you're stepping out of your comfort zone that aliveness starts to come, because now you're stepping into something new, something exciting, something expansive. But with that, you're also coming up against your own belief system that has kept you restricted for so long where you are. Yeah. And those fears are around money. Those fears are around safety. Those fears are around am I going to be safe as I step out into doing this new thing that I'm excited about? Am I going to be successful at it?
What
Am I
will
going
people
to, right?
say?
Yeah, what will people say, right? And so you have to face all those fears as far as recognizing those are old stories, old fears, old beliefs that you've been holding on to for a long time that you're going to have to face in order to be able to outgrow them, right?
How
You just
about when you
recognize them.
do, how about when you do take that step and then you achieve that and then you look back? Is there better feeling of overcoming yourself than achieving the next step and realizing it is possible? I am becoming that person that I envisioned. I am becoming what I wanted for my life.
Yes, that sense of victory. It's like the victory pose of standing on the mountaintop saying, I did it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
There's that sense of, look at what I can accomplish, look at what I can do on the other side of that. Like, I was victorious in overcoming this challenge and then this challenge and this challenge, because hopefully we don't just do it once, right? Now that we know
yeah,
we can do it, we
yeah.
continue to seek challenges and stretch our own boundaries, as you're saying. That's how you live on the edge of, that's how you create that sense of aliveness, is when you continue to push past your own
Yeah,
fear boundaries and
yeah.
see, look at all I accomplished after I pushed through that. Look at who I've become.
But this is exactly the moment that I would like to remind people, because when you look back into your life, some of the worst moments in your life, if you push through them or you recover from them, made you feel like, oh my God, I survived this and I became better for it. And so every time you look back through your life through some major moments of failure or deceit or anything that hurts you deeply and you thought your life is over, like you did on your in your ninth grade, uh, I don't even mean it doesn't have to be as drastic as it was for you, but there are always moments for every one of us that you feel like this is it. I can't recover from this. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me. And yet, few years later, you look back, it's like, oh my God, I have done this. I look at me now. Look at me. What happened? Look at me. What I have become. And it is very hard to hear that when somebody is in the lowest point of their life, and somebody will tell them, "You will look back at this as a stepping stone or as a lesson." It doesn't feel like it, of course, because we are hurt and we feel like nobody understands and nobody can help us. And uh, I'm sure almost everybody in the world went through at least one or multiple moments like that in life when you feel that everything is falling apart. But when you overcome it, there's no better. You cannot learn this from books. You cannot achieve it by listening to some coach and nodding your head and thinking, yeah, it's right. Yeah, that's right. Printing the quotes and put it on the fridge and look at it. No, that sounds nice and we all do that. But unless you put that work in, it's not going to change anything, because you will always default to that back comfortable place that, like, I don't like it, but at least I know for sure that. So how do you help people, if you do help people, to overcome those points when they are afraid to take the step?
You know, it's a great question. And I think the most beautiful thing that we can do for people is create a safe space for them to go through the transition. So there are many different types of coaches out there, and I've had several different kinds of coaches and strategies or methods that they use. But the thing that I've found is the most important thing is, as a coach, I continue to see the vision for them, even when they can't see it for themselves, and especially when they can't see it for themselves.
Or
I can
remind them of
continue to
it.
see
Yeah,
that
yeah.
vision,
Mhm.
so that when they say, yeah, I'll say, like, whatever happened, sometimes with friends or family, I'll just say, whatever happened to that dream that you had of X? And they'd be like, oh, well, I don't think I could do it, blah, blah, blah. And well, why not? Why can't you do it? And then they'll tell me. And what I do is I'll look at, like, what are the beliefs that they have that are keeping them from pursuing it. And if I can just help them shift one or two of them, sometimes I can just unlock, and they start to go in that direction pretty rapidly. So I create, first of all, I hold a vision. Second, I hold a space where they feel safe to come and share, not just the good, not just what's going right, but this thing is not working for me right now, or this thing didn't turn out right, or I was trying for it and it's just not working. I want to see them in their lowest moments too, because that's when I can help them the most.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is a shift in your thinking to, oh, I need to look at this a little bit differently, a different way. And if I can look at it in a different way, instead of feeling defeated, I can shift into feeling hopeful. And if I can shift into feeling hopeful, then maybe I can even shift it to feeling inspired.
This is the aha moment why coaching is so important, because it is so easy to sit in your head. We are all smart. We have read things and we have studied things. And unless we apply it, it's not gonna change anything. But it is almost impossible to apply it on your own, because you don't have that feedback. You don't have that mirror. You cannot see tree for the forest, like they say. And I have been in those moments so many times. You may know where you're going, but you cannot, if you have a guide who walks you through it with the experience, it's not going to be as painful. It's going to take less time. It is going to be easier for you to overcome those roadblocks, because that coach already knows, or kind of saw what can happen on the way there. So this is basically kind of like that advertising for a good coach, because good coach will give you that space to kind of go through your own head and put it out there and realize that what part of your thinking is the story you tell yourself and what part of thinking is the reality, and how you can reframe something that you believe it's impossible and look at it from completely different angle. And it will get you to that point. It's like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. And I think that's like one of the sweetest moments in coaching, when we can help people go there and realize that it's not about coach telling you what to do. It's more about rediscovering what really is deep down and what you were maybe afraid to admit to yourself, and put it out there, and have the support to achieve this. Because this is really, I think that's why I love the coaching industry so much, because especially lately, we have hardly anyone in life who will listen to us. Never mind, pay attention. And I remember when I was starting coaching, I had some people that had no experience what it means, that work. There was like, well, why do I need a coach? I have a girlfriend, I can talk to her. And I was like, sure, that's totally fine. But that girlfriend is gonna tell her either what you want to hear, or what her opinion is. And that's not what coaching is. Coaching is about what you really want. And if you don't know what you really want, that's the first part of it, to figure out what the heck do you want in your life.
Yes,
I just, this is, yeah, I'm really enjoying this conversation. It
it's
just
so true.
bring things back that, why it is so important, why athletes that are brilliant and talented and fast and everything, why do they have coach? Because the coach see what that athlete cannot see, because the athlete is focused on his work and on training and on everything, and the coach sits on a sideline. It's like, oh my God, he's using his leg bad, he's gonna hurt himself. He's When you can reflect back how to make it easier, it's a priceless.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all of that. And, I think the other thing too that I have learned that is of such value, and the gift that I realized my business was a gift I gave myself. It took me 11 years of like being frustrated with the experience of being self-employed versus, having a steady paycheck coming in. It's a very different experience. And I realized, oh my gosh, this was a massive gift I gave myself, because I gave myself back to myself.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is I was so out of tune with my own inner voice, my own inner knowing of what does bring me joy, of what I am, who I am at the deepest essence, the deepest soul level. Who am I? A lot of people go around, who am I? They're not every day, but a lot of people have this general question, who am I really? That has been the question I think I've ultimately been exploring in having my own business. And so what I love to gift people as they start to work with me, as they start to go through this process of creating their own business and doing that self exploration. Who am I? What do I love? What do I stand for? What do I care about? What matters to me? And making sure that everything to the best ability is in alignment with the things that really matter to them. They continue to stay in integrity, in alignment with what is true for them in that moment. That they will continue to evolve and create a business that feels, it doesn't have friction. Your career and your life no longer have friction, because it's in harmony with who you are and what you really care about, what matters to you most. And so ultimately, as I'm sitting with people, I'm asking questions and feeling into what is aligned with who they really are. Because I know people who've started businesses that have been very successful and very profitable, but they burn out.
And realize that's not it. Yeah.
Happens there too. It's not just for the corporate, right? And I thought it was just corporate people. And I felt, oh no, it happens in self-employed world all the time too, because again, you're so focused on driving towards results of money, and money over everything else that's important. I knew a guy he's had 4 different businesses. And by the time I got to him, he realized, like, my life has become all about this goal of having a $1 million business. but I'm missing out on all this time with my kids. And so after that, the next thing I know, I get an email from and saying, "Hey, I've decided to leave that business behind. I'm taking my family. We're going to Hawaii." Like all, I was like, "Whoa!" Like, wow, that was a huge shift fast. And you don't have to go to extreme measures like that. Again, you can just step towards what you want. But I was like, wow, something really clicked with him where he realized how much he was living out of integrity
I
with what
think
was most important.
I think the fact that you voice it out loud helps so much, because you may have these circles in your head, but you don't have time to listen because it's, this and that and phone rings and everything. And then the work with the coach, like you sit down and you actually have to listen to your thoughts and put it out there and say what you. I remember this brought me back to one of my first experiences with an under coach that I had, and it's like you keep saying, I don't know what I want, I don't know, I don't know, and yes you do. And so you start digging deeper, where you may even be afraid to look yourself or admit it to yourself. And that's the space you were talking about, that safe space that you can say it out loud. Nobody's going to ridicule you. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, that's ridiculous. Get real. It's it's important. We don't have those moments almost never in regular life, because we are constantly, there's always noise around us. So for that thing alone, it's so valuable to have a coach that can actually take time to really, dwell on this and kind of dig deeper and really find out what it is that you really, really, really want. Not what your parents want or what your kids think that you should be doing by now, or your husband or your friend. No, what you want. Because like we started, the most of our life we are doing what we believe that it's needed or it's responsible or what is necessary, and we are supposed to take care of this and that, and we must do this, and the priority is always others over us. And you are younger than me. I am gonna be 60 this year, which is scary thought. But I realize as I'm getting older that my opinion about these things changes too, because I used to be like that. I used to be the go-getter and everything was more important than my life. And then you got a few snaps out of it, and and if you don't learn the lesson, you get it again. And so I just want to encourage everybody. This doesn't mean luxury. This doesn't mean I can't afford to take care of myself. I don't have time. I don't, because you're going to pay for it sooner or later. I don't mean to scare anybody, but you're going to pay for it if you are not satisfied in your life and you deny yourself to come out with what you really, really, really want, because you feel deep inside that there's something that you are meant to do or be. You're gonna pay for it in unsatisfied relationships, in whatever, not money, health, everything, because I believe the biggest pain we can cause ourselves is unfulfilled potential. When you look back and think, oh my God, I could have done this, but I was such a coward. I couldn't bring myself to have the courage to do that. And I'm assuming that's what you do as well. You help them hold that vision and you remind them of what's possible.
Yes.
You remind them that it's in reach. You don't need to talk yourself out of it. You don't need to listen to all the negative nannies that are telling you that's ridiculous in your age. It's such a great debate to have, because I think a lot of people have not really good concept of what coaching means.
Yes.
And the type of coaching you do goes very deep. And that's a part of the reason why I do this podcast, because I want to bring you out as a person with your deep beliefs and with the beliefs that were built based on the experience, just like Mary affected you because she's real, authentic. And when you choose coach, you have to really resonate with that person on a very deep level, because you will be doing some intimate work that maybe your closest friends don't know about you. And I just want to encourage everybody, if you resonate with Danielle and what she's saying and who she is as a person, give yourself that gift and start to start to reaching out and feel what it would look like to work with her, because it could be the best gift you gave yourself in your life. Because if you can change things about you that are not satisfying, it just changes everything. You will get that smile from her. I remember we didn't say that on a podcast, but you told me that at when we were talking before, when you came back from that conference and you caught that vision that this is what you want to do, you changed like overnight, like night and day, and your husband said something to you.
Yeah. So I was nervous about telling him how much money I had invested in the program without asking him first, right? And so I'm thinking, what am I going to tell him? And so I'm kind of sweating about it on the plane ride, because we're already, I'm already filled with doubt. Like, did I make the right choice?
Yeah.
Maybe I made
Yeah.
the wrong decision. So I got my own voices in my head going on about that. So I get there, I get home, and I'll be okay, I just got to tell him. I got to tell him. And I think it was I got there late, so it was the next morning, and we're in bed, and I just said, "Honey, there's something I need to tell you, right?" And I have no idea how he's going to take it. And I just said, I decided to, the conference I went to, yes, I decided that they were offering a program, and I decided to invest in it. He was like, okay, how much does it cost? And I told him, and I think it was like 30 grand or something like this. And I've invested a lot in coaching, so it's at this point it's a moot point. But I looked at him, and I said, but I've come up with an idea of how I can pay that back. And he goes, honey, if I get more of this, then yes, that was a good decision. And I was like, oh, apparently I was just glowing, right? I was just
Yeah.
glowing from the
Well,
whole
let's
experience.
remind everybody that you went to that conference when you were on the brink of being totally burned out from your corporate job.
Yes.
So the transformation that happened over 3 days only, it's I love that story because it's first of all it shows how wonderful man he is and how wonderful partner he is. But also you said I invested in coaching a lot. No, you invested in yourself a lot.
Yeah.
And look who you became.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. It is so true. And it has been really beautiful for our relationship, because as you probably know, as many people probably know, the more you work on yourself and do the inner work on yourself, the more your relationships transform in massive, unpredictable ways. You
Yeah.
cannot possibly know, but my relationship with my husband is so much richer today because I invested in myself, and I started putting myself first and started taking care of myself and my wants and my needs. And it's sometimes counterintuitive. If I start to put myself first, I start to take care of myself and what my desires are, that I'm going to be a better partner. But you bet, because
Yeah.
when you become happier and more joyful inside, of course he's going to pick up on that. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, if he's not resonating with that, that's a sign, right? That maybe that's not your partner going forward. Just like my career wasn't meant to be with me. My
Mhm.
corporate career wasn't meant to be with me forever. Sometimes our partners aren't meant to be with us forever, right? We've
Or friends
outgrown
you
that.
lose on the way because even though they keep telling you they
Yes.
want the same thing, you outgrew them in your thinking, and suddenly they feel threatened because they want you back, the old miserable one that was again comfortable to be around
Yes.
and complain together, and suddenly you are not that person anymore. You moved on, and it reflects back on them that they could have had it too, but they did not do the work. It's just it's so complex when you think of it, but it's obviously absolutely what you said. We cannot change anybody else. We can only change ourselves. And through that, everything around you changes because the way you look at the world changes. And I always love these tidbits. And you mentioned Tony Robbins. I told you that I did a Tony Robbins coaching. Uh, those bits of what you focus on grows. And just think about it for a second. When you focus on all the negatives, you will get more of it. It will just confirm what you are already expecting and thinking. When you focus on the positives, the universe will be tripping over itself to deliver and help you to have more of those happy, appreciative moments in your life. The gratitude, all these things. It may sound like cliche to some people that have never, really deeply investigate what it means to the personal growth, but it's and you speaking to someone who was, well, now it's a little longer maybe, but good 15-20 years ago, I would make fun of these people. I would be the one completely ignorant one that was like, oh, she's trying to find herself, oh my god, get real. I was so cynical about it because I didn't know anything about it. And when you start exploring and when you realize, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And I kept hearing the same message from different sources, and it was always the same principle. I started paying attention finally. And it's just really, it's please give yourself that gift and at least explore what it could mean for you and your life. You don't have to settle for anything. We only have one life. This is not rehearsal. This is the real thing. And my friend just told me one of her and I don't remember the name, so I shouldn't even bring it up, but it is a race driver that suddenly passed away, 41 years old. Bigger personality in life, fun, young kids. We don't know. We are hanging here by thread. We don't know what next day brings or this afternoon. And I don't mean this to bring it to anything negative, but we better appreciate what we have and we better live the life we have right now because it's not guaranteed. And one of the things I believe that you learn when you just said, your relationship improves, your business improves, your world improve is because you became the person that appreciates the blessings that you have, and you start realizing and focusing on the things that matter, that makes your life richer, that finds the joy again like you used to have when you were a little kid. And it's undescribable feeling when you help somebody else to bring to that stage. What do you love most about the coaching? Are there moments that you love the most?
You know, the relationships that I actually have with my clients is one of the most beautiful. My favorite clients are the ones who stay with me for a while and I can watch the transformation. Sometimes they'll kind of flow in and out, but
Mhm.
I can stay connected with them and watch their transformation as they flow in and out. And it's watching their evolution. It is so beautiful to see where somebody starts trapped in the life they don't really want, unhappy, unfulfilled to varying degrees, and to see them shifting out of that. Because it's not overnight, it's a transformation that occurs over time. But staying true to that dream and that vision that they have and continuing to walk that, continuing to take the steps over and over again, and watching their life transform before my very eyes is so beautiful. And I have so many examples, but like one person that I can think of is when she got to me, I was speaking at a conference, and I was the topic was how to achieve your big ass dreams. And she was up in the front row, and she was so excited to have me there. I was the first speaker of the day, and I have these little downloads. Spirits gives me these little downloads, and I heard like use the example of a fourplex, and it was because it was a real estate investment. And so I said, if you have a dream of owning a fourplex, and she goes, that's me. And I was like, oh, that's you. I was like, I knew there was a reason why I got that download. She's like, that was for me. I know it's for me. Right. And
Wow.
she's still in my life today. Like I become such great friends with these people that are my clients and in my life. And so as I started to work with her, I saw she was a lot like me, where the joy, she's a joyful person, but she was so focused on making the money and doing the things and being responsible and all of that. And I will add this one other element that we do to ourselves, putting herself down, beating herself
Yeah.
up so much about what she wasn't doing, what she was doing wrong, and what she should be doing more. She was so much in that space. And I said, whoa, that is the first area we're going to go to work on, because I used to do that to myself a
Yeah.
lot. Right.
Yeah.
And like, we're
That's
going to
why
get
you
you
can relate to it.
right. I'm going to get you, we need to get you back to a space of loving yourself again, accepting and loving yourself, because that is something we lose along the way. As kids, in the very early ages, we don't question ourselves or our worth or our value. We don't do any of that until the world gets a hold of us, right?
Yep.
And then we start to do all of that. So I want to take people back to the very beginning, when you knew your value, you didn't question it. It was you. It was who you were. You were joy. And so I said, we are going to go to work on that with her. And so it has been so fun to watch her come alive as she's learning to catch when she starts to dig down on herself and be negative and beat herself up about things. Like, we're not doing that. What did you do well? What did you do right? What's going on with your life? And then she'll start sharing. She'll just open up and just start beaming. She is just this ray of joy. And now her world is just opening up. She forgot she used to love something called praise dancing, which is you use these big flags and you just flow with the music. And she used to teach this, and she forgot all about it. And guess what is coming back to life in her is praise
That's
dancing. And then
wonderful. Yeah.
people in the community are like, I want to try that. I want to try that. So it's like
Well,
organically just
it's also
growing.
infectious. It's very infectious. Once you find that aura back, that beam around you, and your smile is so gorgeous, I can feel it from you that, it comes through. If you're watching on YouTube, I hope you are, because you cannot fake this. You either find it in you or don't. And it doesn't mean that you do anything wrong, but I beg you, try to find it. It's worth it. It's so
Yes.
worth it. You said something, and I caught this funny image in my head, when you said the babies don't have any insecurities about themselves, and I just saw a 2 years old toddler going like, but my thighs are so thick, and it's like I'm fat.
Yeah. Look at how roly poly they are. Yeah.
Just we do it to ourselves, and it's really hard to catch yourself, because sometimes what we say to ourselves we wouldn't say to the worst enemy. And I'm afraid that it's coming out of people now online, when sometimes people behind the keyboard just say the nastiest, most insulting insults. And I'm always looking at it, and I was like, I wonder if that person would have the guts to say it to somebody's face. This is so ridiculous. It's just, why do you think I should care about your opinion about something, and who you are to lecture me about something that you don't know anything about me? You don't know if I'm expert on that or not. You're just like assuming. And people have these judgments and assumptions and cynical side of them. I'm trying not to be around people like that, because that's infectious too, unfortunately. So if you can pick and choose what kind of person you want to be, there's this old cliche: is you become the uh, uh, what is it? What
The
is the word?
change.
You become the person who the five people that you surround yourself with.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
you become the average of 5 people you surround yourself with. That was the word I was looking for. And it's your choice. If you want to be around complainers and you want to be just knocking everything down and look, it's like, oh my God, look at her, how she's walking, da da da. You become that person. You will be bitter, cynical person. You will not be happy. Or you can choose to surround yourself with somebody like Danielle, who brings beam and joy to your life and makes you see in you what you cannot even capture yourself because you are too scared to admit it, that maybe that potential is still there. And I just hope that people listen to this and start realizing that this is possible. All I have to do is reach out. And I don't know if you do some kind of consultation for free when you first talk to people, or how they can reach out if they resonate with you. You should tell us about that. What is the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So on my website, it's just danielleisaac.com. And there's free consultation on there for people who are like, I'm not sure. I think I need your help. I need to kind of talk that through. One of the things people always say is, I need to talk things like they call me a sounding board. I just need to think things through with you.
Yeah, no,
So
because
you
most
need
of
to
us
think that
don't have
through.
idea what it means. And I don't blame anybody, because you have to sense if that person is the right person for you too. And it's important. So don't be afraid to open that door. It doesn't cost you anything, maybe half an hour of your time or an hour. But unless you open that door, you don't give yourself permission to even explore. And so, yeah, that's very important.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
And
have
of
that.
course, I'm sorry, I meant to say,
Yeah.
in our show notes, of course, there will be all the contact information where you can reach to Danielle, and social media, whatever. And it's just, so if you are moved to contact her, please look at the show notes. There'll be all the contact information there. Okay.
That is perfect. And should we tell them about the book?
Yes, we should. Yes.
So I am almost done with the book. I actually have written the book. It's in editing form right now. And it should be up in the next 2 months, hopefully. That's the goal. And the book is called Energized, The Exhausted Woman's Guide to Clarity, Joy, and Purpose.
Perfect title for my podcast.
Yes, so I'm excited to get that out. I think it's going to be a beautiful way for people also to do that self-discovery process, like we said, to really start to listen, go within what would bring me joy, what would I love. And I have even like a video that I give, a free video. Here's how you can start the process for yourself. So yeah, all of that's coming out. And I have a free community where I support women as they're starting to take what I call imperfect action. Where is never polished. We're just kind of fumbling our way through it in the beginning, being imperfect about it. It feels sloppy. It feels messy because it's new, like when you ride a bike for the first time.
Yeah.
So we create that safe space where you can really start to take that imperfect action towards that bigger vision or dream that you have, whatever that is. So I help people formulate that vision or dream. I help create a community where you can take those steps together in community with other like-minded women who are going through a similar experience. And then of course I have my coaching, where if you really want somebody to just be there as your guide, walking you through the step-by-step, making sure you don't get in your own way, uncovering all those beliefs that are holding you back, really making those breakthroughs that you want. That's also where that coaching piece comes in. And all of that is on my website.
Danielle, one question came to my mind. I don't know why, because I was never actually questioning that myself, and I should. Why are dreams so important?
Ooh, that's a good question. They're what inspire and ignite us. And I believe they come from the soul. So I believe it's our soul's way of saying, come this way. This is where you're going to find your greatest joy. This is where you're going to find your greatest aliveness. This is where you're going to feel the most fulfilled. Because a lot of people feel like, I remember when I was corporate, I feel like I'm meant for more.
Yeah.
that moreness, that feeling is your soul saying, you are, come this way. This is where you're going to grow. The dream is where you lean into that moreness, you create clarity of what that moreness is, and then you begin to move in the direction of that moreness. And then what happens is you expand into a greater version of yourself as a soul. You start to experience yourself on a larger level, right, of what you can accomplish and what you can do, and joy on a higher level, and relationships on a higher level. Like everything exponentially grows when you step into that greater version of yourself. That's what I think a dream does, is it pulls you in that direction. It gives you a reason to step out of that comfort zone and start to move in a new direction that's more invigorating and more exciting.
What a beautiful answer to that question. I seriously, that's exactly, that's the whole point why we do this. And it, and again, think again what it means if you just stuck it in a drawer, no time now, maybe sometimes, maybe later, maybe sometimes, or maybe never. And it just take this as a permission to do something for yourself, and just finally start thinking about what your life can look like if you only were allowing yourself to dream, and dream a little bigger, or maybe even bigger. It's just the circumstances are never your destination. You can survive anything. And I just want to appeal to anyone who is listening to this. If Danielle resonated with you, just do the first step. It's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna bite you. Just open that door, because every time you, looking back again in your life, every time you open some unknown door, usually you found something even better behind it that you didn't even expect. So I just want to encourage everybody to take it as a nudge that maybe it's your time. This was such a
Beautiful.
joy. Such a joy to be with you, Danielle, and unbelievable. That's gonna be hard to edit anything out.
Well,
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much.
much for having me here. It's my honor, my privilege. And thank you so much for the beautiful work that you're doing as well.
I am trying my best, and it's the thing, you are you doing things because you're supposed to, or it's comfortable, or are you doing things that you really feel empowered by? You really have that fire in your belly that's like, oh my God, this is what I was meant to do. And if it's not, then don't sell yourself cheap.
And we have to
Just
remind people it's never too late either, because a lot of times we think we're
correct.
too old. Oh my gosh, so many fun stories of people
Yeah.
who are older who transitioned and did something completely different. And that's what kept them young again. That's right. That
I
aliveness
I
came.
can I can't agree more. I have a joy to meet some people that I am stunned myself. My dear friend is 93. She's blessed with very good health. She's obviously have her issues and weaknesses and pains and everything. She is teaching step dancing classes. She's still teaching improvisation classes. She is living her life fully. It's incredible, because I have also experienced people that are old at 40 and they feel like their life is over and they are not even moved to do anything about it. And it's such a shame, because don't let this happen to you. I think it's in your power. It's, you are your own master, and you can do that despite anything. So just take the first step, even if it's the imperfect action, like you said, and just try. Just dip the toe in the water. One step forward, two steps back. Doesn't matter as long as you're moving.
Yeah, you got to trust that intuition. You got to trust that gut. Your
Yeah.
gut says go. You got to just start learning to go and trust it's all going to work out, because it does. It always does.
Yeah. And if you
Yeah.
are less than happy, then remind yourself of that moment when we talked about how you came completely changed from the conference, and your husband realized, like, if it gives me more of this, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
It's all worth it. And you are worth it. So always put yourself first. no matter what.
Yep, absolutely.
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure to be here with you. It was fun to watch the joy in your face as well, and you remembering all those special things that we learn along the way that do change
Mhm.
our lives if we implement them, put them to work in our
Yeah,
lives.
yeah. And it's fun because I seriously don't prepare for my podcast. I don't prepare questions ahead of time, and it always comes out from the conversation. And with you, a lot of things were coming to my head without me controlling anything. So you ignited something in there, either memories or transformations that I was reminded of that I could relate to. And I hope it did the same for you. And please, if you have a little fire in you, just don't let it die. Just act on it. It's worth it. Such a pleasure, Danielle. Danielle Isaac, right? This is
Uh-huh.
how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, or Isaac. Yes.
Isaac, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Yeah,
No,
of
a lot of
course.
people say Isak. That's fine.
That's my European
Yes.
pronunciation.
Yep.
And I'm assuming you do this work online as well as in
Yep.
person, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't matter where you live. She can still help you. So this was fun. This was really, really fun. And I'm so glad we
Excellent.
did that.
Good. I did my job then.
Yes, you did.
We should be having fun, right?
Yes. And tears and everything.
That's
It
right.
is all real. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of the day. Take
Thank you.
care.
You too.